Good morning, Chad Taylor, Territory Manager of Maizex Seeds, Central Ontario. Standing here mid-September at Lockie Farms with John Spearing, Operation and Management here. So every year they do an awesome job doing a corn plot for us. So today we're here going to evaluate and look at some of the hybrids that we have in this plot. John, can you take us through a typical or this growing season of this particular plot?
Yeah, this plot was planted on April 27th at 32,000 population. We put about 100 pounds of N up front, and this was not side dressed. This is sandy soil. We had a fairly dry early summer and then a decent wet weather after.
Okay, great. We're actually Shawn Winters, our plant breeder. He came up today to help us evaluate some of the hybrids, so we'll get him involved in talking about where to position the hybrid best. Well, thanks for joining us here today, Shawn. Before Shawn starts evaluating the hybrids, I will just point out a couple things with the Maizex nomenclature. So I always like to bring things back to days of maturity as opposed to talking heat units and evaluating that on farm. So with MZ, we always start off with our MZ hybrids. So MZ is a typical grain hybrid. Leafy would be our leafy hybrids if you ever see that in our seed guide. And then the first two digits typically is the days of maturity. We add 60 on our first two digits to give you a 96-day corn. So in behind is this 3690, a 96-day corn. The next two digits aren't really representative other than a numbering system. And then at the end is our DBR or trait package involved. So we could have Smart Stack, SMX, Double Pro, or Roundup. R would be a Roundup on that. So I'll turn it over. Thanks again for joining us. I'll turn it over to Shawn to discuss the hybrid.
Sure. 3690, a 2900 heat unit Double Pro at 96 days. It comes out of the ground really quickly. We have a little paler seedling compared to other hybrids. Comes out of the ground quickly. Flowers early for its maturity, so it's a good hybrid to move north of zone. Medium plant stature and really strong stalks into the season. So positioning, you can position the hybrid in and north of maturity zone underneath stressful conditions. It'll stand well. And if you need something reliable for late harvest, it'll be the hybrid that fits that as well. We have a longer ear. When we look at the husk cover just barely covers the tip. We got this nice unzip of the husk happening, which opens it up to aid dry down. Here we're nicely dented. We open it up and we have a half milk line. Usually deep kernels, 16, 18 kernels round. Very high in yield potential. So if you need a hybrid that does well north of zone with exceptional stalks and a little bit of stress tolerance, 3690 is a nice fit.
Okay, standing in front of E65G82R. So just this quick description of how we number. We'll see in our seed guide some hybrids that start with the E. So when Elite and Maizex joint ventured, we did carry on some of the better Elite hybrids that they had. So E stands from the Elite side of things. So when you're looking at days of maturity, you add 30 on the Elite hybrid, so that makes this a 95-day corn. When we go back to the last digit, so a 0 would stand for a Smart Stack hybrid, a 2 would stand for a Double Pro, and a 5 would stand for a conventional in that. And then again, the R stands for Roundup. So this is a Roundup hybrid, a Double Pro Roundup. So I'll pass it over to Shawn to give his description of this awesome hybrid.
Sure, 65G82. It comes out of the ground really quickly. It's really aggressive seedling vigor. Flowers early for its maturity, so it's a fit for in and north of its maturity zone. It tends to be a little taller in plant height. We can use it for a dual purpose if that's an option. We look at the husk, flares its husk nicely. You can see here it's nice and loose around the cob. That aids in dry down. Plant health is above average. it does benefit from a fungicide application to increase yield. When we look at the ear, we have a little better, or a little farther, more advanced dent versus our 3690, just a little bit ahead. We always see a tip on 65G82, and we always get this big cylindrical ear. When you open it up, 16, 18 kernel rows round, milk line's a little bit more advanced than 3690, dry down is really quick. So pair this up with 3690, you'll have a 3690 for more delayed harvest, 65G82 for more of an early harvest option.
Okay, standing in front of E63 G62 at 2750 93-day corn. So I sold a lot of this corn in my zone this year based on the results we saw last year. Guys really like the steadiness of this hybrid. Maybe not too many, didn't top too many plots, but very consistent on a field scale as a whole.
I like the uniformity of ear size from plant to plant. I like how it performs on variable yield environments. It's a very consistent plant type. Defensive trait package, we have strong stalks with a very nice leaf disease package to promote high yield. Sets up grain really quickly for its maturity. Really nice grain appearance and really high test weight for its maturity as well. Never very big cob, 14, 16 kernel rows round, but exceptional test weight.
So as you notice in the back, it is a medium plant height. So I do have a lot of no-till guys using it for reduced trash management. They like the less trash that this hybrid produces at the end of the day, and it's easier for them to manage. So a lot of those guys look for this hybrid for that reason as well. Anyways, MZ 2699 at 2686-day double pro. We are standing in a little tougher part of the field, so it gives you maybe not the optimal position of this hybrid. Where I see it is very tall statured. Again, we are on tougher ground right here, so it's maybe not as tall as where I'd like normally is. Awesome for a dual purpose hybrid. Shawn, do you want to describe a little bit more about that hybrid?
Probably the strongest we have for seedling vigor. It's a really robust, aggressive seedling coming out of the ground. Flowers early for its maturity, so we can position it in and north of zone. Very nice leaf disease package. It does benefit from a fungicide application to increase yield. I like the uniform of ear size down the row underneath variable yield environments. Both higher and lower yield environments, very consistent with regards to how it looks. 18, 20 kernel rows round, really high in test weight. We see we have an ear that flares open, showing the cob. A little longer husk cover. Husk cover blows open, aiding dry down. When this hybrid gets closer to maturity, it's going to lay its ears out nicely in the row, dropping them and really flaring its husk. Stalk strength is exceptional with this hybrid. Position in and north of zone for optimum positioning. Be a nice companion with 2982. It would be an earlier companion to 2982. You get similar stalk strength and a little earlier maturity.
Okay, thank you, Shawn. Okay, so MZ 2982 at 2675 89-day double pro. Really excited about this hybrid in my zone this year. So it's replacing 3033, so that was a big seller in previous years. So very, very excited about the yield potential this one has. We have it out throughout my zone. It's looking quite impressive throughout my zone. Looking forward to seeing how the combine, how it yields with the combine.
Sure, the plant itself is a little shorter in stature with a little lower ear placement. It comes out of the ground as a seedling, very strong and has a nice deep green color to it. When you look at the husk flares open, giving you this nice dry down and exposed ear. Husk cover is just adequate to average, barely covering the tip. When you look at the ear itself, you get a big girthy ear, 18, 20, 22 kernel rows round. average test weight for its maturity, and then you break it open. Lots of deep kernels there. It does well underneath variable yield environments. Average leaf disease package, so it would benefit from a fungicide application, and moderate plant populations is all you need for this to excel. It'll be a nice hybrid addition to our lineup. Very nice yield potential.
Okay. We're standing in front of Maizex 3397. It's a 93-day corn.
Good dual purpose option for those that are looking that way. Ideal for corn on corn. It's been in our lineup for a few years now. We like its consistent ear down the row with regards to ear size. Aggressive spring vigor, again a little pale in color throughout the season. Grows to be a medium to tall plant height and benefits from a fungicide application in season. We have an ear here that's zipped open nicely. Flares open its husk with average husk cover. You open up the ear, you get a more of a medium cylindrical ear. Again, very rarely tip fills. Open it up, 18 kernels round. Maybe not the deepest, the kernel, but very consistent with regards to yield potential. Positioned in and north of its maturity zone. Benefits from a fungicide application, moderate planting populations.
Okay, MZ 3117, 91-day double pro hybrid. Looking really well throughout my territory. A lot of positive feedback on the hybrid. It looks really well in this plot as well. So one I'm expecting to do extremely well here and at other locations in my zone.
Little shorter in plant height, defensive traits, really strong stalks, really strong leaf disease package. Tends to flower a little bit late for its maturity. Tends to give you a big girthy ear, 18-20 kernels round. When you break it open, very deep kernels. Test weight is average. Its yield comes from its kernel size and the number of kernels that we have. Position in and south of its maturity zone for optimum yield potential at moderate populations. Fungicide application may or may not be favorable for yield potential. We have a husk that flares open nicely, husk cover that covers the tip nicely, opens up well for dry down.